Hi everyone, my name is Carla and I am a scientist and a game designer. On this channel, I'm going to be talking about some of the games and tech products that I've made over the past 10 years in science and healthcare. So I thought to start the channel off, we will look at the very first game I ever made, which is called Bacteria Combat. A little preview for you guys there. So this game was used to teach young people about bacteria, microbiology, and antibiotic resistance. And I'm going to play through that with you guys today and talk about some of the amazing science and healthcare that's involved. So for anyone that doesn't really understand what antibiotic resistance is, I'm going to give you a little overview. So antibiotics, right, we use them to treat bacteria infections. So if you've got like impetigo, like scabs over your face, or if you've got an infection, your finger, your toenail, or a throat infection, only bacterial, you'll go to the doctors and you'll get prescribed antibiotics if you need them. So bacteria are quite clever because they can evolve to adapt to their environment. And what we've basically done is shove tons and tons of antibiotics in their face for the last 50 years, and they've evolved to become resistant. It's just what they do. So what we're trying to do as scientists is to educate people on this and try and reduce the consumption of antibiotics and make sure that they're only used when absolutely necessary. So I'm a bit mental and I decided that a game would be a perfect tool to do this for young people. So we developed Bacteria Combat, which is kind of like a Pokemon Top Trumps mobile game where you can learn about all the different bacteria and also learn how they become resistant to antibiotics. So we're going to play it. Here we go. Okay, so we have entered the main game arena, and what you can see is that I've got two cards in my deck. So I have Lactobacillus and Pseudomonas. So you'll see that Lactobacillus has a lovely green design, meaning it's a good bacteria. And then we have Pseudomonas, which is kind of purple-red, meaning it's a bad bacteria. So on each card, we have different stats. So we've got strength, generation time, speed, resistance, and their special power at the bottom. So really this is quite cool because bacteria are all really different from each other and they have really different properties. So we try to really emphasize that in the game. So what we do here is we pick the card that has the highest stat and challenge our opponent. So Lactobacillus has a strength of 100, so he's kind of, I'm going to say he's a he. He's kind of cool right now. So strength is kind of like how tough they are. Lactobacillus have quite, they're gram-positive bacteria, so you have quite a robust cell wall and membrane. So you know what, I'm just going to go for strength. Here we go. Fight. And we're playing against the bacteria bot. Oh, against Campylobacter. So that is, that really horrible bacteria that gives you food poisoning. And of course, Lactobacillus wins with a strength score of 100. Okay, so I won, so I get to go again. So I've got here in my deck Clostridium difficile. You guys might know it as C. diff or superbug. So this is a bacteria that can spread quite easily in the hospital environment. So sometimes you'll see, wee grannies going in with a fall or a cold or the flu and catching this on the hospital ward. So it's really important to be extremely hygienic in hospitals to avoid the spread of this little bad boy. And you can see one of its main issues is it has this massive resistance score of 70. So this little bad boy is really resistant. It's what we call, multi-drug resistant. So it's really hard to treat these infections. So on that note, I think I'm going to play my resistance. You see that Pseudomonas has a similar resistance score. So Pseudomonas is a gram-negative. It can live in the lungs of cystic fibrosis patients. And it's also multi-drug resistant, so really difficult to treat. But I think I'm going to go for C. diff. He just is a bit more of a tough guy, I think. Okay, so I am being challenged against... okay, so here we go. The antibiotics have finally come up in the game. So we really wanted to showcase the dynamic nature of microbiology and hence put antibiotics in the game. So in this game, if you get an antibiotic card, it basically beats your card if it has a resistance of 50 and lower. However, if you've got a high resistance above 50, you knock out antibiotic cards, showing that not all bacteria can be treated with these drugs. So let's do one more little round. Pseudomonas, shall I play? I'm going to go for Pseudomonas because it has this massive speed score of 100. So speed is basically the ability of a bacteria to move and be motile, and it does this through the production of flagella. And Pseudomonas has tons of these flagella and can swim really fast. So boom, let's see how it goes. Speed 100, Pseudomonas, and I'm being challenged with an immune cell. Fab. Okay, so what we also wanted to do in the game is add the immune system. So in the game, the immune cells will only kill bad bacteria and not the good bacteria cards. So if I had the lactobacillus, that immune cell would have had no effect on it. So there's little quizzes here. And common shape of bacteria, can anyone answer? So yeah, it's going to be rod. Bacteria are commonly rod-shaped, so like Salmonella and E. coli, or cocci-shaped, so circular, so like Streptococcus. So there's little quizzes to keep you going. So that, in an essence, is bacteria combat. What you can do in this game, which is really exciting, is you can play against the bacteria bot, or you can also play against your friends. And this can be quite cool if you're, wanting to do a classroom session or take it into a hospital with some younger patients, and they can play this on their own devices. I really love playing this game to stem discussion because I think it's really nice to see how different bacteria interact with each other. They're so different. I mean, there's not one bacteria that is identical to another. They have completely different properties, and that's what makes them really fascinating for me because they're kind of like different personalities. I think this game is also really good at showcasing how antibiotics actually fail to kill bacteria when they are resistant, and therefore allow us to really discuss and think about how important it is to preserve our current lot of antibiotics. And finally, it's just really good to show how this massive dynamic interaction between bacteria, infections, antibiotics, and immune cells are happening all the time in our body. It's kind of like a war, and a cold war, and a hot war, and there's always something happening. I hope that you've enjoyed this first episode and it's given you a little glimpse into how great it is to use games to showcase healthcare and science. We're going to be doing a lot more things on this channel, looking at lots of different games, most produced by myself, and other media and technology. So please subscribe, like, share, and let's get talking about science and healthcare in totally different ways.